Hey guys, Gabriel Evans here. Today I'm drawing and painting a treehouse. I've been fascinated with drawing treehouses since I was a kid, and I used to draw them on envelopes and scraps of paper. Happy to say though that my style has improved since the age of 5, which is a good sign, right? So the houses have become a little bit more sophisticated. From simple little treehouse platforms, I'm now drawing these crazy elaborate mansions sitting precariously on the branches of fragile trees. And it's quite funny because I've often had professional architects studying my tree houses to see if they're potentially something that could be physically possible. And I have to gently remind them that when I'm drawing them, I don't have reality in the forefront of my mind. They're like 100% in the realms of fantasy and are just fantastical ideas for my dream home. I'm illustrating this in a very traditional way. I begin with a pencil, I'm now overlaying it with pen, and then I'll finish off by building up transparent and semi-transparent layers of watercolour with a few touches of body colour. Penwork I'm using here is a mixture of two types. One is a structured form-finding type for the treehouse. Then in contrast, I have the loose, expressive scribble style that is perfect really for recreating tree barks, roots and leaves. The scribble technique is sort of like signing your name over and over again in all different directions. For open areas of texture, the scribble line becomes more sparsely laid out, and then in more concentrated areas of texture, the scribbles are built up by running over the area repeatedly. The overall effect at the end looks seemingly sophisticated and a really detailed textured drawing, when in fact it has only taken a few minutes to create. Now, you'll notice I don't stay too long in one area, but move across the drawing, keeping everything moving and progressing at a similar pace until I'm finally happy with the overall appearance of the drawing. Now I bring in the colour. The colours I'm using for this are cobalt blue, turquoise, cadmium red, cadmium yellow, hooker's green, a combination of mixed burnt umber and indigo, and then the most dominant colour is yellow ochre. I want this to look like an old-fashioned illustration, and to do this, the earth tone, yellow ochre, has to be the main chord. Whenever another colour begins to dominate the overall piece, I then wash over several glazes of yellow ochre just to pull it back again. And another good earth tone to get a fairly old-fashioned look happening is raw sienna. Now, a quick note on the leaves of the tree. I am not a fan of painting tree leaves one flat hue of colour. I think it just gives it an artificial look. So next time you look at a tree, note the variations of colour dappled throughout. This includes sunlight reflection and shadows are often blue or purpley. And then if the branches or dead leaves are showing through, you'll get these warm, speckly, earthy colours, and if it's heading into autumn, you'll have spots of brilliant red or yellow, depending on the tree. So I like to include a whole range of colours into the leaves that are orchestrated by one dominant colour. So I'm building up some fairly gutsy tones under the tree leaves in sections where the house is in shadow. And this is to give the illusion that the house is potentially bigger than what can be seen. Actually, a quick note on the treehouse design. I didn't want it to have an appearance that it had been planned by an architect in one sitting. So instead, I want it to have an appearance that every generation that has lived there has somehow contributed to the design. So they've made changes, put add-ons, and the overall effect is this random collage of designs that somehow pull together and make it a very character-driven home. I'm now adding touches of body colour for the highlights of the house. And the body colour combination here is white gouache mixed with yellow ochre watercolour paint. Now I'm not using it excessively, just enough to give it a bit of a lift to the areas of the picture. And I'll also add a few marks of body colour, which is a combination of white gouache and cobalt blue. And I'll just touch this lightly to the branches and sides of the house, just to give it a little bit of a sparkle. Just boosting up all the tones now beneath the tree and on the treehouse itself. And I'll put some glazes of colour over top of the bark of the tree. And then I'll bring in some paint splatter with my trusty ocher brush. And I do this to loosen the picture up and give it some spontaneity and texture and take it away from looking too contrived. And I'll finish off by adding several glazes of yellow ochre across the entire picture. And this is just softening all the marks up and reducing the intensity of some of the other colours. And it just brings it back to looking more like an old-fashioned illustration, kind of as I originally intended it to be. I'll then bring in some pen work just to refine some of the lines. And there we go. I sped the speed up for this picture. Actual drawing and painting time was just under 30 minutes. So any questions about the picture or process, please ask in the comments below. Thanks for watching.